The
I have like 3
volume,
pages.
unlike
Sorry,
Alma this morning.
Oh, yes. Sí, I
Unlike
had it on.
Alma.
Qué bueno que me recordaste.
Yeah, so let me turn off the volume.
Okay, 20 seconds. Done. 5, 4, 3.
Hello everyone, thank you so much for joining once again and con Mary Rabago now in English. This is Journalism with a Purpose. It's a way for us to have conversations on topics that are affecting our families, around our community, our country, and it's a space where you can express your voice, your thoughts, and also ask questions to our guests. So the first thing I'm going to ask you to please join us in this conversation and help other people join us also by sharing the link. If you're joining us through Facebook Live at this time, please go ahead and share the link just like I'm doing here so more people can join us. Today we have a very interesting show where I know it's going to touch your heart. We're going to learn a lot and we're going to open our mind to a lot of situations going on in our community, particularly the dreamers, the DACA people that are under this special pardon done by President Obama a few years ago, and now that is being taken away from them. There's a lot of fear in our community, there's a lot of stress, but they gotta be a lot of education and information, and that's where we come in that picture, and we start doing this kind of conversation so we can have everybody educated and informed about their situation and what they need to do. So thank you so much for joining us, and it's an honor for us to have today with us Alma Montes de Oca, immigration attorney.
Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you so much for joining. So we did it in Spanish this morning.
Absolutely.
And now we're doing it in English, so it's fun to see you twice a day.
Right? It's like the sun. You see
It's
me
the
twice
sun. And also joining us is Karina Ruiz, a dreamer. She's actually a DACA beneficiary or beneficiario, for those that my accent might be too thick for you, but I mean, this is America, right? We love accents, and it's a way to enjoy our diversity. Karina, thank you so much for joining us. You are the president of ADAC here in Arizona. Arizona Dream Act Coalition, and we've been seeing a lot in social media and the mainstream media the devastation among dreamers. Over 20,000 of them here locally in Arizona, over 800,000 nationwide. What was your first reaction after you heard the announcement?
I cried. I cried of frustration, of sadness, of anger. I didn't like the way that the message was delivered yesterday. It shows that this administration has no regard for our lives. And to me, they were talking about loss and about compassion, but their actions show all the contrary, right? It speaks a lot to the fact that they don't know, or they're very, very far from our reality. Mm-hmm. And this is why we have to share our stories. This is why we have to bring them close to our reality. They live over there in their bubble, and they don't understand how things are running down here where normal people are.
Through my career of 20 plus, yes, I started when I was 5, because I know they start getting my age right away. I keep mentioning this because to me it's very important. Our story has power. Mm-hmm. And if you keep your story, if you're afraid of who you are, the situation that you have gone through, what you have learned, and you don't share that with others, you're not empowering the people around you by sharing your story.
Unafraid!
I know that you recently was
Unafraid!
after how many years of not being able to visit your own country?
I was
We're in our community!
through a benefit that DACA going to be able to have and enjoy from now on. After 18 years, I was able to hug my sister and my 2 brothers, got to meet my nephews and nieces that I never met because all of them were born after my parents and I moved to the U.S. I got to see my only grandmother, the only one that's still alive, and visited my other grandparents' graveyards. It was very, very shocking. My aunt was sharing with me that my grandmother didn't want to let go because she was waiting for my mother, and my mother could not go back because she knew that if she went back, she would never be able to see me, or wouldn't be able to see me or my children. And it was a hard choice for her choices that our immigrant community has to face every day. I know personally many immigrants that they call me and they're like, Karina, my mom is like, you know, in their last hours. What do I do? And I say, well, I cannot tell you what to do. It is a personal decision. It is a tough decision, and I share it with you. I would ask those people out there that criticize immigrants so much to put themselves in their shoes. You know, to not be able to take a flight and just go and be with your mom, your dad in their last minutes of life. What could possibly, you know, prevent you from making that decision?
Or having that high of a price.
Exactly.
For looking for a better life for your loved ones. Now, Alma, your work has to be extremely emotional because you are in charge of representing, defending, and looking for opportunities for people like Karina. You're an immigration attorney in a country that was formed by or created by immigrants, and all of a sudden it seems like we have forgotten where we come from or the values of the country. When you hear about stories like Karina, where she went to school, got her degree, university. She's a mom that works, that volunteers in the community, that is an activist and helps so much. And they come to you. What are some of the emotions that you feel?
Well, it's been a roller coaster of emotions. I may be a U.S. citizen, but I am, I said this afternoon, the child of dreamers. My parents came here in hopes of a better life. And I take it very personally, and I am personally offended when I hear the administration address, at the beginning of his campaign, and addressing my father as someone who was a bad hombre, that they only sent the Mexico and Latin America and sends only the worst of the worst. And I take great offense because I know my father and I know my mother and the tremendous sacrifice that they had to endure in order to make sure that they provided a better life for their children. And I am just but one story, right? And I think that having the clients in a situation where they come to me, I have to put on my legal hat and say, okay, these are your options. And recently I've had lots of really tough conversations with people, and I've cried with clients, I've gotten frustrated, I've gotten angry, but I've had to have some really tough conversations as well. And one of the toughest conversations is to have to tell someone, if you want to eventually be able to see your loved ones, you may have to stay here indefinitely. I'm sorry that your grandparent who raised you is on their deathbed. I'm really sorry that the aunt who raised you is asking for you before she passes on to the next life. And I feel legal answers sometimes aren't the
easiest things to give. You're still very emotional, Alma. I know these few days, they've been very hard on you and people in the organizations like Karina, because you've been dealing with the true stories, the reality, not what is said in the press or what papers showcase on laws.
Exactly, and I think that I'm blessed to still feel that connection directly with my my clients, and I'm blessed that I have the ability to retort and to say, I absolutely disagree. My clients may not be perfect, but come on, who in this world can stand before anyone and say that they are perfect and without a blemish? I would say that most of my clients, I've had very tough conversations with youngsters, right, who have been raised here in this country and who've made a mistake, right? Because what teenager hasn't made a mistake at some point?
Tempted by trouble, exactly, in many ways. So thank you so much to Dimitri for joining us. Luis Antonio Rodriguez, Trump is a Antichrist. That's what they're calling him. Pedro Gonzalez, saludos. Thank you so much for joining us. We have Corina Chavez Madruga joining us today too. Thank you so much. Do not forget to share this link. We have information that will help not only the dreamers, the people in that situation, but I think the main reason for this type of conversations, we're also going to be speaking about same-sex marriages. We have some Diamondback tickets for you and your family. But the main purpose of this kind of conversations is to bring the community together. We have been here in Arizona, and I'm not tired of mentioning it, the ground zero for division, for anti-immigrant laws. Instead, we can change that vision. We can do a new branding for our state. We can start conversations that will take us to a path where we will realize that we have a lot in common.
Right, and I think that one of the conversations also that I try and stop, even amongst my own clients, right, is when my clients try and say, but I'm a hard worker and those people over there are not hard workers, right? Or I'm a hard worker, I should be allowed to stay, and all of those, and you insert whatever label, right? Those people are not worthy. And again, I even have to check my clients and say, no. That's exactly the type of mentality that has gotten us in this situation. It doesn't, I try and create a safe space for everyone in the office. And I think part of the conversation when we talk about what's next is we cannot talk about the parents who brought Dreamers as the culpable. Yes. As the bad party.
Who do we blame? Exactly. Always looking for the blame.
Who do we cast as the bad person? Because again, I think then we put ourselves back into the situation where we have to defend people who should not be placed as the villains.
In other words, so we need to start focusing on the things that unite us, the things that we have in common. And throughout this conversation, you've been watching some video of what happened the day of the announcement, Tuesday, yesterday, here locally, where a group of dreamers walked to the ICE office here locally in Phoenix, and they were, you know, protesting for the decision. They were expressing their hurt, their pain. They were sharing their story. Like many across the country, we saw it through, you know, every single state. There's been very vocal, but what can we do now that we have this? How we can come together as a community, find solutions? Because we have dreamers that start businesses that are giving work to, you know, numbers of people within our community. They're not here living on welfare or things like this commonly said in our, you know, the other aisle when it comes to conversation. So I think when we start highlighting really and educating both sides of the aisle and who we are, the things that we have in common, maybe I want to think, you know, I'm a dreamer too. I love to dream of possibilities where we can be in a better situation and work together to make this country, you know, advance instead of staying where it is right now. We have John Lowe from Tucson. Thank you so much for joining us. John, thank you for sharing our link. We also have at this point, Jorge Voltas, Nora Herrera, Brenda Ramirez, Ali, thank you so much from Avondale. We are asking you to ask or to place your question, your comment in regards to the situation. How is this affecting you directly? But the main thing right now, Karina, a lot of dreamers are saying, what do I do now? What are some of the advice your organization or people like Arma are sharing with them?
We don't want people to panic. That's the worst thing that they could do. We know it's tough, it's hard, take a deep breath. If you need spaces where you need to process, because it is a loss. This was one of our biggest victories recently in immigration, and for them to take it away, it is hard. So I understand that people have the worries of the information. What's going to happen with our information? Is it going to be shared with ICE? And are we going to be put in deportation proceedings or our families? So all of these questions, you don't have to leave that alone. You can come to spaces with organizations like ours that are going to help you process all of that, and we're going to try to give you answers that we can, and those answers that we don't have, we're going to try to brainstorm together on how do we come to solutions. Tonight we're going to have a forum at 6 p.m. at First Church at 1407 North 2nd Street. I've been promoting it so much, I even memorized the address. Again, that is 1407 North 2nd Street. And everybody's invited to come to that space. We're going to have information. We're going to have a space for people that want to share, like, they need to process it. It's okay, you know, to have those spaces. And also for next steps. We know that Congress, they have not acted in so long. They didn't pass health reform, and now this president is putting the ball on their court. Yeah, and giving them a 6-month period, and I go, well, I don't know that that's going to be able to be accomplished in such short amount of time. So it is up to us to put pressure to that Congress. So people, allies, people that care for dreamers. Maybe you don't have somebody in your family, but you know a dreamer, because we touch so many lives. In the hospital where I volunteer, remember when I was going with advanced parole, the ladies there were like, well, let us know if they don't let you come back, we'll go to the border and we'll protest and we'll bring you back. And I said, you know, we know there's people that care for us and that support us. We need them now to come out and send letters, make phone calls, emails, meet with your Congress representatives and tell them there is urgency on this matter. As of now, in a year, people are going to start losing their status. And with that, they're going to lose their jobs, and they could lose their homes, and they could, you know, so we don't want it to get to that point yet. So allies could also give money for those dreamers that need to renew. That's another way. If you need a dreamer, or if you want to get in contact with the organization and say, hey, I want to sponsor a dreamer that might not have the $495 to renew their permit, and if they can, I want to sponsor a dreamer. We'll welcome those people and we'll put you in touch with one of those dreamers so that you can sponsor them.
We're going to go to a small break, and the time that we come back, I want to speak a little bit in regards to the support that the dreamers are getting from a lot of local governments. Unfortunately, not from the federal government, but here locally in Phoenix, you know, the city council, the mayor, there's a lot of people, exactly, ASU, a lot of people are actually finally starting to talk about this and express their support. Also, I would love for Alma to tell us what is it, the important dates the dreamers have to consider and act soon about it. So we're going to go to a small break and we'll be right back. This is Con Mary Rabago now in English. This is Journalism with a Purpose, and we invite you to share the link during the break and also place your comment or question for our guests. Next, we'll be talking also about same-sex marriages. We'll be right back.
It has been a wonderful experience. I think that having the right level of information at all times to understand how together we can do a better job is great. You guys are great partners, and you took the time to understand why the campaign was important.
Is engage the community, so it becomes a conversation. It becomes a community project. When you call people together, thousands of people will come. There's no other agency can do that.
Mary's viewers are very loyal, very dedicated people to her, and so they trust her.
Mary Rabago Productions was much more timely, and the quality of the product when it was all said and done was fantastic.
We really do need a production company that understands not only the language, the culture, but has the professionalism.
We would support Mary Rabago's production in a professional manner. We know the quality, we know she is professional, and she has a team of people that are caring and very sensitive to the Latino issues in the United States.
The basis of success is a good education for our children. That is why Imagine Prep College prepares them to succeed in the fields of greater demand in our economy, like science, technology, and engineering. With advanced academic instruction, choose Imagine Prep College for your children. Give them the best gift you could give them, a quality education for free. Call today, 520-424-2790. 520-424-2790. I, Mary Rabago, recommended.
Thank you so much for continuing with us. This is Con Mary Rabago now in English. We're talking about DACA, the announcement, and how it's affecting over 800,000 people across the country, about 20,000 of them here locally. Those people that are somehow, under DACA, they're benefit from this, deportation referral. Is that the proper way?
Yes.
Alma Montes de Oca is our expert in immigration, a local lawyer. We also have Karina Ruiz. She's the actual or current president for ADAC locally. And now joining us also is an honor to have with us Councilwoman from the city of Phoenix, Kate Gallego. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
And I know you're very passionate and outspoken in topics like this. The city of Phoenix has been one of in the country that had stand with the immigrant community, but particular with the Dreamers. What was some of the reaction within the city once we heard the announcement?
We really felt like it was a shameful action from the president and that he doesn't appreciate what a terrible negative consequence it will have for the entire country.
And I know on a local level there's not much that you can do once this kind of actions are taken in federal level, but you've been amazing with this career in politics, and I know it's not easy for a woman to do all the things that you do, juggle your new babies. By the way, congratulations, you were just re-elected again, so for another term. How do you plan to serve more the community at whole, instead of only, focusing on issues like this? What is it, the plan that we can spread from Kate Gallego?
Well, this is a very important issue to us at the City of Phoenix. We have so many Dreamers who are part of our community. They take care of our children. They are our lawyers. In my case, I was the first person at the City of Phoenix to hire a Dreamer.
I remember.
Two-thirds of my original staff were Dreamers, and I didn't hire them because they were Dreamers. I hired them because they were the best people for the job. Working in city government is difficult work. We often work with people on the very worst days of their lives when their homes have flooded or there's a fire at their home, they're facing eviction. And you really need people with the heart for service to serve. And the people who I hired had that heart, and they cared so deeply about this community, about the city of Phoenix, but also the entire country. We are lucky that they are willing to serve and be part of our community. And I'm just one of many employers who would have a real loss without these very important people.
Now, you have a particular position where you can actually help the education on both sides of the aisles when it comes to the immigration situation, but particularly the Dreamers. How do you use that platform in order to create more of a consensus within that community as a whole?
Well, early on we tried I was elected shortly after DACA became a program, and it was difficult at the City of Phoenix for us to hire Dreamers. We'd never done it before, and so we wanted to take that expertise and share it with people in the business community, that even though we had a lot of questions originally, it didn't end up being that difficult, and it was a huge success. So telling that story about how much you can benefit from hiring Dreamers. And then I felt like I needed to continue to tell that story, particularly with the business community. So there's some groups, including Forward.us, which is a nonprofit that was started by the Facebook founder, Mark Zuckerberg, who also has a passion on this particular issue. He has a Dreamer who he mentors, and has a lot of experience with that as well. And so he has asked some of us in the elected community to get involved with telling the story to the business community. And I think that's been part of the reason we've seen so many CEOs say, frankly, if you're going to do anything with our Dreamer employees, you have to come through us first.
Exactly. And you guys hear Councilwoman Gallego speak about being the leader, telling the story also about their experience when it comes to the Dreamer movement, or the capacity that the Dreamers have to enhance the business community, particularly because we all hear when it's about our pocket, right? We all put attention, we all get involved. Would that be the solution from your point of view, from the activist point of view, to really find a solution in this country for the immigration situation?
Yeah, I think it's Again, the narrative that we heard yesterday was like dreamers are taking these jobs from Americans. And I think it is important to break down that misconception, and among other misconceptions that are out there about immigrants, specifically about dreamers. I think we are in those positions where we compete with other peoples that are citizens or residents or other dreamers as well. And at the end of the day, it's you as a person. If you have the skills, the ability, the care, there are certain characteristics for a particular job that are needed. And if their employer is going to see that in you, it doesn't matter. And again, that brings us back to immigration, right? There are laws that are man-made, but that doesn't make you as an individual. It's you as a person who should be more valued over laws that sometimes might be unjust and that are just based on fear of people. And like you said, telling our stories, going out there and talking about the success that we have. And also sometimes the stories are not that pretty. But if people make mistakes and if they serve whatever is required from society for them to serve, why should we keep penalizing them, right?
And I recently had a conversation with someone who called in who was a business owner, and he was very impressed, and a small business owner, and needed his employee who was a DACA recipient and wanted to find out, how can I help this person stay? This person is married to a U.S. citizen, has U.S. citizen children. And I had to explain to this employer who says, I want to hire this person. He is one of the best, most responsible people on my staff. And I had to explain to him, one, I appreciate your enthusiasm. However, because your employee came into the country without a visa, DACA has allowed him to have a work permit. And even though now he has a U.S. citizen spouse and children, he would have to return to his country and get a visa, but run the risk that because he came here and stayed for more than a year without a visa, he runs the risk of having to wait 10 years outside of the U.S.
So each case is very particular. And this is the time I think it would be important, Alma, to call on the dreamers so they can have a consultation with a person like you, a lawyer, an expert in immigration, because if a big portion of them are not going to be able to extend their stay here through DACA after this announcement, there may be other possibilities.
Right. So I find that sometimes because the work permit is in a 2-year period. So say, for example, I've had people who've had DACA, but unfortunately they were a victim of a crime, or their parent was a victim of a crime during that 2-year period. And so they may qualify for a visa for crime victims. Maybe they got, yes, exactly, a U visa. Maybe they're married now, right? And yes, they would have to take the risk of having to return to their country of origin in order to get their status, but it is an option. Or maybe now they have a child, right? They have a U.S. citizen child, and so that would give them the ability to say, yes, I do have rights in this country and I want to be here to make sure that my child is raised by me.
In other words, information is power. And we have Linda Bishop who says, thank you for keeping this conversation going. Thank you for joining us today. We have a lot of comments that our guests will go ahead and answer them after the show. We invite you to go ahead and put your comment, your question. And before we go to another break and we change the subject into same-sex marriage, which is a huge portion of DACA recipients also within that community that might be affected. And we have the honor today to have a public servant that can talk to us about how altogether we can come and we can bring light to the situation. So Alma, really quick, will you remind the dreamers what dates they have to have in mind in order for them to not lose the opportunity to extend the permit?
One, you have to submit a non-refundable fee of $495 to submit your renewal. You are only eligible to renew your work permit if your work permit is valid from now until March 5th of next year. If you have a work permit that falls within that time range, you have to submit your renewal before October 5th of this year. And I would suggest that it gets sent way before October 5th, because it's not that it's sent by October 5th, but it has to be received by the government by October 5th.
Don't wait for the last minute. In other words, Dulce Matos, everyone please join and follow ADAC. Thanks Karina Reese and all the leaders who every day make sacrifices for the cause. So thank you so much for joining us today. The forum starting tonight at 6 p.m.
6, yes, and if Dreamers are interested in renewing their DACA, have questions, they can call our office at 602-842-3748. And we're going to put it also in the comments. We're planning about working on Saturday. That's how much the need and the urgency is, because we want people to renew and we can help them with that renewal process.
Well, don't forget to follow them on ADAC and Facebook and Twitter, all the social media. I want to thank Alma and Karina for joining us today and bringing this information to our community. And also, we're going to continue speaking to Councilwoman Gallego about her baby, how does she juggles, being a mother, in politics and professional, but particular some of the causes that she has, and she's very passionate, among them same-sex marriage. We're going to be joined by Silvana Salcido, an icon here in the community, and Daniel Maldonado. They're going to share their story with us, so please continue with us. We also have some tickets for two families to go and enjoy the D-backs game. We'll be right back. This is Journalism with a Purpose con Mary Rabago.
It has been a wonderful experience. I think that having the right level of information at all times to understand how together we can do a better job is great. You guys are great partners, and you took the time to understand why the campaign was important.
Is engage the community, so it becomes a conversation. It becomes a community project. When you call people together, thousands of people will come. There's no other agency can do that.
Mary's viewers are very loyal, very dedicated people to her, and so they trust her.
Mary Rabago Productions was much more timely, and the quality of the product when it was all said and done was fantastic.
We really do need a production company that understands not only the language, the culture, but has the professionalism.
We would support Mary Rabago's production in a professional manner. We know the quality, we know she is professional, and she has a team of people that are caring and very sensitive to the Latino issues in the United States.
The basis of success is a good education for our children. That is why Imagine Prep College prepares them to succeed in the fields of greater demand in our economy, like science, technology, and engineering. With advanced academic instruction, choose Imagine Prep College for your children. Give them the best gift you could give them, a quality education for free. Call today, 520-424-2790. 520-424-2790. I, Mary Rabago, recommended.
It has been a wonderful experience. I think that having the right level of information at all times to understand how together we can do a better job is great. You guys are great partners, and you took the time to understand why the campaign was important.
Is engage the community, so it becomes a conversation. It becomes a community project. When you call people together, thousands of people will come. There's no other agency can do that.
Mary's viewers are very loyal, very dedicated people to her, and so they trust her.
Mary Rabago Productions was much more timely, and the quality of the product when it was all said and done was fantastic.
We really do need a production company that understands not only the language, the culture, but has the professionalism.
We would support Mary Rabago's production in a professional manner. We know the quality, we know she is professional, and she has a team of people that are caring and very sensitive to the Latino issues in the United States.
Thank you so much for continuing with that. This is Con Mary Rabago now in English. We have 2 sets of 4 tickets each, family package, to go and enjoy the D-backs game tomorrow, to the people that can tell us the 2 topics that we're talking about today with Con Mary Rabago. It's really easy. Just write it down, and I will be mentioning the names of the winners by the end of the show. So thank you so much for the D-backs, Los D-backs de Arizona, for joining us in this Journalism with a Purpose. We have Angelica Macias. Hello, Mari, from Tempe. Great topic. Thank you so much for joining us. Erika Marquez also with us. We have so many people leaving. Edgar Olivo, also fabulous program. Keep up the great work. Thank you so much for joining us. Sandy Hernandez, thank you also. Do not forget to share this link so more people can join the conversation. And it is time to change the topic. We were talking about DACA and the announcement this week from the federal government. Now it's time to talk about same-sex marriage. And we already have been conversating with Councilwoman Gallego, which she juggles, you know, being a mom, a new mom, being in politics. Did I say it right, Silvana? We have to laugh about an accent, and it's an honor to have with us Silvana Salcido, an icon here in the community. Chef Silvana, who hasn't been to Barrio Café, but also an activist in our community. Thank you so much for joining us. And bendito entre las mujeres, as we say in Spanish, is Daniel Maldonado. Thank you so much, Danny, for being with us.
Thank you for inviting me. It's my pleasure.
Danny has been married to his husband for 3 years now.
It's going to be 3 years.
3 years. Silvana, how long?
Cuatro.
So 4. We're doing this in Spanish or English.
But
Don't confuse me. I'm just kidding. We got to have a little fun. So, Kate, this definitely is a topic that you're very passionate. You had fought a lot for, you know, giving equal rights to couples of same sex, in the marriage particular.
I remember when we were knocking on doors trying to defeat a ballot initiative that would have gone the wrong way on marriage equality. And just a few years ago, it was hard to believe that the day would come when we would have marriage equality. Obviously, we're nervous whether we'll be able to keep it with changes in politics, but I'm proud of how far our community has come.
Now, it's not an easy spot where you are, because it might not be a topic. It's a very controversial topic, and we all know that, particularly within the Latino community, you know, among many other communities. To take a stand, it could have a high price also for your political career. It could go both ways. So why is it so important for people like you in public service to go with their heart and their values in many aspects, or what they really believe when it comes to our community?
I believe we're on the right side of history, and that our children will be proud of us for standing up and doing the right thing. It was an issue when I ran for office, but thankfully I was on the right side, and the voters in my first race went with the candidate who was pro-equality. So I think that's a sign that maybe we are coming together as a community, and more people are saying we want people to be able to
have the same rights.
Have the same rights.
Now,
love is love.
Love is love. So Silvana, it has never been like this for you. You have gone through the phases, particularly with the family, with the community, where you couldn't really express who you were or your identity in many aspects. And now you're very outspoken and you become a voice for a lot of members within this community also. And I wrote it down, so I'm not saying it wrong because I was getting in trouble. LGBT, correct?
LGBT, right. Or queer, as I like to say. You know, what it is I like to speak for those who cannot speak for themselves, whether it's DACA or living in the shadows. Living in the shadows means a lot. You know, I've lived in the shadows. I was forced into the closet, and when I came out like not screaming and kicking and not going back. And I don't think anybody should have to live in a closet. It's not a good place to be. Closets were for clothes, for memories in a box, not for people. And most definitely not for people who you want to see grow and flourish and be active members of society. And when you're living in a closet under those conditions, you're second class. And I refuse to be second class anymore or allow anybody else to be treated as second class. Whether you're brown, you're a person of color, you're LGBT, or you're just a nice gringo, man, you know. No offense. I mean, that's just the way it is, because I think gringuitos are starting to feel a little bit of pressure too, and maybe that's why we have a lot of this going on, you know.
But it wasn't easy, particularly within your family. Can you share a little bit? Because I'm going to ask Danny also that, and that is what, you know, guides a lot of people to continue living in the closet and being who they not really are because of the pressure within the family. How was it for you?
Fear of what they're going to say. And I always ask my mother, who is they? For me, it was really, really tough. Somewhere in the 60s, when I was like 4 or 5, my mother answered the door on a Saturday afternoon, and hence we're Jehovah's Witnesses.
Oh.
So I was that person that knocked on your door, sorry. And, you know, but I got to see immigrants and so forth, because that's who we were preaching to. I look at it as a half full, half empty type of thing. I look at it as I had training in community service. I just didn't have to preach. But it's, again, not a good place to be. The social, not only social, but the family and
stereotype.
The religion. It's very hard. It's very hard to come out of the closet. So here I am, coming out of the closet for those who cannot.
Speaking out loud for them.
Including my family.
And we have Oscar Lopez. Saludos, Mari. Thank you so much. Love is love. Danny, how was it for you within your family? They were very open, very... you know, understanding, or whether they're a phase of struggle also?
Well, I think I kind of relate to Silvana's story, because I think at some point my family, I'm lucky enough that my family has been very supportive through this whole process. I actually just kind of came out to my parents when I was 31. I came first to my mom, and then I came to my dad. But to my dad, I kind of dropped the triple bomb, as I said. I said, Dad, you know, I'm gay, I'm gonna get married, and my best friend is basically is gonna be my spouse.
Wow.
So he's like,
how do you take that as a parent? We're parents, imagine that.
So
yes.
I don't blame him for taking everything in 1 second, but at the same time, I think that, and I can talk to people like close to my friends who have had it harder than you can even imagine. I mean, I've had one of my very good friends, I remember she was telling me how her parents took them to get an exorcism.
Oh my God.
So, I mean, you hear these very tough stories, and I really feel really lucky that my parents were that supportive. I mean, we had a 350 invite wedding. I mean, it was everybody around us supported us a lot. So, but I can relate to Silvana, because that point where you don't know if you're going to come out, what's going to happen, what if my parents are going to kick me out? The
macho stereotype within the Latino community.
Exactly, and that's actually one of the biggest points. When I go back to Mexico, this topic is still in diapers, as they say. You know, it's like they still point out fingers, or they say, oh no, you can't say that, or no, you can't act this way, you can't go here. So it's really hard. But the fact that I live here in the United States now, I'm actually happy that I'm able to. I think I would have done it in Mexico anyway, but I think the
rebel without a cause.
The fact that you can get married now here in the United States allowed me to do that big step and say, you know what, this is what's going to happen. Like, I just think it's a matter of being happy and accept yourself, and thinking, you know, when people ask me, hey, you know, what's going to happen when I come out to my parents? What should I do? And I tell them, you know what, just be yourself, respect yourself, love others, respect others, and accept the fact that that's who you are. And whoever doesn't want to be with you because you are a gay, lesbian, whatever you want to be, then they don't need to be in your life anyway, you know?
Now, can I be casual and call you Kate instead of Council? Thank you so much. We're very casual here in our little house, the Mary Rabago Productions, de Con Mary Rabago. Now, you hear the stories, but you also get the pressure as a politician. I said it right? I'm learning, I'm getting there. From groups of faith, people that are against these topics or these issues. But At the same time, you're hearing the stories of people like Danny, like Silvana. You understand their pain. You're a mother now. How does that change the vision of your work when you're representing or speaking out on people?
Well, you think about what if it was your family and you want the best for what you would want for your family. You want a city that stands for equality and where everyone feels welcome.
And it's definitely a topic not easy to discuss within our families. It's still, I'm assuming, even after you guys came out of the closet, as you mentioned, and you guys got married and you got to that situation, I'm assuming it took a while, some time for the whole family to embrace and accept the situation, or am I wrong? Because I have covered too many stories through my journalism, career, where I know it gets violent within the families in many occasions.
My situation was, unfortunately, I never gave my mother the opportunity. She said, ojos que no ven, corazón que no siente, eyes that do not see, heart that does not feel. And she didn't want to have me come out to her.
She was in denial.
No, so I didn't come out to her, but I didn't stay in the closet either, and she saw me comport myself as a lesbian woman, and she saw me comport myself as what she perceived to be a straight woman, and there was no difference. I'm still the same kind, loving person, and that's what I wanted to demonstrate to her, that her perception and her religious titles on that mean nothing. That was on her, not me. And so she passed away. I didn't have that opportunity, and that's probably one regret that I have. That I never gave her the opportunity to tell me to, váyase, go.
In that aspect. Well, I think this topic gives a lot of more conversation. We're going to go to a small break, and on the way back, when we come back, I would love to focus a little bit on how your stories are empowering other people, and how do you face rejection from the community in many aspects. We are honored enough to have Kay with us here, Councilwoman Kay Gallego from City of Phoenix, where it's being one of the cities more open to people LGBT. I said it right, I'm learning. We'll be right back. This is Con Mary Rabago in English. Please don't forget to write your comments, your questions for our guests. What we're trying to learn, it's not if you're in favor or against, we're trying to learn about these issues that are part of our families also. So we'll be right back.
It has been a wonderful experience. I think that having the right level of information at all times to understand how together we can do a better job is great. You guys are great partners, and you took the time to understand why the campaign was important.
Is engage the community, so it becomes a conversation. It becomes a community project. When you call people together, thousands of people will come. There's no other agency can do that.
Mary's viewers are very loyal, very dedicated people to her, and so they trust her.
Mary Rabago Productions was much more timely, and the quality of the product when it was all said and done was fantastic.
We really do need a production company that understands not only the language, the culture, but has the professionalism.
We would support Mary Rabago's production in a professional manner. We know the quality, we know she is professional, and she has a team of people that are caring and very sensitive to the Latino issues in the United States.
The basis of success is a good education for our children. That is why Imagine Prep College prepares them to succeed in the fields of greater demand in our economy, like science, technology, and engineering. With advanced academic instruction, choose Imagine Prep College for your children. Give them the best gift you could give them, a quality education for free. Call today, 520-424-2790. 520-424-2790. I, Mary Rabago, recommended.
Thank you so much for continuing with us. This is Con Mary Rabago, Journalism with a Purpose, now in English. And we have our conversation today with Councilwoman Kay Gallego from City of Phoenix, Silvana Salcido. We know her as the chef, La Reina de Barrio Café in many aspects. And also we have Danny Maldonado, who is celebrating 3 years of marriage with his husband. We're talking about same-sex marriage in many ways. And then we say, I cannot say this word that they're putting there in the comments. Pura, you know, your title and your thing.
Oh, yes.
I don't want people doing the beep on me tonight, but thank you so much for joining. They're applauding your presence here tonight. Now, as we were in commercials, we're talking about that there's many issues that arise within laws or ordinance within, you know, like City of Phoenix. And right now, there's a particular issue that is on the table.
So we at the City of Phoenix have a non-discrimination ordinance that we passed saying it's illegal to discriminate. And we're very proud of that. It helped us get a lot of national recognition for being a city that values equality, which I think is important. Arizona doesn't always have the perfect reputation, and we were losing, people were not wanting to move here because they didn't know if we were tolerant or not. So it really helped
enhance the economy also.
Businesses were saying where they wouldn't want to start up, they wouldn't come to our community because they didn't know if we were tolerant or not. And so when we have been moving forward with that, it's really made a difference for people regardless of your background.
The orientation.
It helps our entire, it's the same with the topic we started with today, with DACA.
DACA.
Rising tide lifts all boats, and that's been the case here. But it's also something we believe it's the right thing to do, regardless of the impact on businesses. And we, right now, are in a lawsuit about whether or not
it's going to continue or not, we'll be
to have
applying it or not. Well, we'll be definitely putting attention. Now, you heard from Kate saying the business community, and I know LGBT community is very resourceful or very impactful when it comes to energizing our community. You are a big example of that.
Well, you know, if I was afraid of what my mother was afraid, you know, that stay in the closet, please, I wouldn't be sitting here right now saying I'm a lesbian, I'm a Mexican. I have all the
that connotations or titles.
Sure,
that could be.
everything that, you know, that guy hates. And the thing is, I believe that through my voice, there could be that one person who's still in the closet, or that one person who's afraid to go forward with their culture or their food, or who is afraid of just stepping forward and speaking up. It hasn't, I'm not made out of sugar, and it hasn't hurt me, and I'm still here, and my customers still come. You know, and that's what's important to me, that I can speak my voice and not be punished by it anymore.
Wonderful. Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest points right now, that me personally, I actually like people coming to me and saying, hey, how did you do it? Mm-hmm. You know, I'd rather help a person from A to Z coming out to their parents and seeing them happy than hearing these horror stories of, you know, a 55-year-old person who never came out to their parents, or that had to get married to a woman because, you know, their family is so conservative that they never had that power to come out to their parents and be happy, you know. But yet you see these cases where, you know, males or females, they get married to the wrong person, then they end up hurting themselves and others, you know, because they have kids, and then, you know, they cheat. And I mean, because eventually, I always say, you know, the truth comes out, and no matter what you do, no matter where you go, no matter, you can hide it as much as you can, but eventually that's gonna come out, because it's just so much power inside of saying, I'm a man who loves a man, or I'm a woman who loves a woman, or, you know, it is what it is. And that's how I told my dad. And it's actually funny, because my dad, the first thing that came out of his mouth was, so that means that you're as long as you don't dress with a skirt, I'm okay with that. Now,
that's a different topic.
With a pretty skirt with flowers.
I have the flower one. No, but, you know, the
connotation.
The important thing is that I think my dad didn't know what being gay entails, you know?
Lack of information?
Lack of information. And I think that's what it's really hurting our society, you know, people not reading about it, you know, what it is to be gay, you know, what does it represent, you know? It's a man who loves a man, it's a woman who loves a woman, whatever the case may be, whatever your taste, whatever it is, you have to embrace it, and you have to accept yourself. I mean, I'm sure you come through a lot of cases where, you know, you see people that need help, or people that have been abused, sexually abused, physically abused, psychologically abused for years and years and years, and it's all this damage, and nothing can come out good from being on that standpoint of being in the closet. And that's it. You know what? I know many cases of people who say, you know what? I'd rather move out of my house and go to another city, go to another country, and live my life. And then when I have accepted myself and I embrace it, come back, and whoever doesn't accept me, then so be it.
What role does religion or faith plays in your lives, in your lifestyle particularly?
Oh, that's a good question, right, Savannah?
That's a loaded one. Should I start preaching right now? You know, I'm a good girl. I'm not promiscuous. I'm not a crazy, you know, libertina, that libertine type of person. And yet I can see how people do that, you know, because you're just stuffed into it. It was easy for me to live that closet life because I wasn't that way. But if I had been, that would have been horrible, right? The religion part, we're spiritual beings. So you embrace your religion, you embrace the spirituality part of it, even if you don't agree with the other parts, whether you're Catholic, JW, or anything. You know, was it Ronald Reagan said Mexicans are Republicans, they just don't know it? Well, I guess everybody's Jehovah's Witnesses these days, and they just don't know it because now everybody's preaching and shoving that right religion down your throat. Well, that give me an old-time religion, gives you old-time racism, gives you old-time in the closet, it gives you old-time values, and that's not where modern forward-thinking society needs. So, yeah, religion is horrible, but and then you're muffling our spirituality. Look what you're doing to us.
In many aspects. We'll be right back with you. You had something to add to that?
I just wanted to add something about religion because, you know, they say if you're Christian, you can't be gay. If you're Catholic, you can't be gay. If you're Jewish, you can't be gay. But yet, all these religions are full of people that are gay.
Queers, closets.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And like I've been
politicians,
I've been to countries that, you know, homosexuality is
a sin.
It's a sin, and it can be basically paid with death.
Punished by death,
you know, punished by death, yeah. So, and people, when I've been to those countries, are like, oh, make sure you don't tell them you're gay. And I'm like, I don't walk with the flag. You know, that's the thing. It's not. I'm not gonna go to some random person in the streets and just be like, hey.
By the way, I'm gay in many ways. So now you hear all the challenges that Danny or Silvana and many other members of the community face every day. What are the biggest challenges for Councilwoman Gallego at this time? Raising an 8-month-old, being a voice for communities like the one we have a representative, or the topic that we had early today, DACA, and the community at whole. How do you balance all that?
It's a difficult time in politics now. People are so angry. Yes. And so I think that's why this show is so important, because it's harder to hate up close.
Exactly. I like that.
People tell their stories. If you know someone who is a dreamer, if you know someone who's in the LGBT community, you can see how beautiful it is, and those personal relationships change people's minds. So thank you for highlighting it.
Well, I think it's important that we start conversating on the topics that they're not that popular. I always keep saying this. I don't do the popular things, but I do the topics that are needed in our community, because I'm a true believer that once we educate ourselves, the community as a whole, in the many issues that affect our families daily, we're going to move forward. We're going to grow as a country, we're going to grow as a community, and we're going to embrace who we really are. So what's the biggest challenge of raising an 8-month-old and also have to appear, you know, on TV constantly, being part of the decisions within the city of Phoenix and many other endeavors that you have daily? What is the hardest part?
It's an exciting time for us in Phoenix. We are the fastest growing city in the entire country. We added more people than any other city, and we're such a big city, so planning ahead and thinking long term is really important, because when you're going that quickly, sometimes you don't sweat the small stuff and that comes back to haunt you. But having the baby helps you say, it really is about the future. I don't need to think about tomorrow. I need to think about when my baby is trying to decide where he wants to live, and having a great city that he chooses once he has
where
a
to be.
choice.
Now, driving the economy is more important than ever, not only in Arizona, but across the country. How can small businesses, and I said small, but in many ways,
Silvana has
but
an empire.
Silvana, yeah, she said, no, I don't have that much. As she walked in, I said, no, I want to be like you when I grow up when it comes to the business. You have set a trend for the Latinos to embrace, the entrepreneurship in many ways, but you have something more particular, Silvana. You're true to yourself and your roots. You don't allow no one within your restaurants to change who you are. You want to be authentic, and you are authentic, not only your restaurants.
Thank you.
How hard is to keep that?
Oh, it's hard. If I wanted to sell out, I would still have a chain that's opening all over the valley right now. Instead, I have my restaurants that I stay true. We don't have chips and salsa. And, if you can imagine, that could be a metaphor for everything. If you can imagine how mad people get because there's no chips and salsa.
But I love your guacamole, though. It's come fresh on the table.
No, that's what I'm saying. Everybody that comes out of Mexico, like Donald Trump said, is a criminal. A criminal, and chips and salsa, yeah, sure, whatever you want to believe.
Yeah, and people don't know that when we go to eat to restaurants in Mexico, we don't have chips and salsa.
And we're not criminals.
Yes, my kids have a culture shock every time we visit some part in Mexico and they want chips and salsa. I'm like, mijo, but we're in Mexico. Yeah, we don't have that here in other ways. What would be the advice that you give to all those young people and their families listening to us today, Danny, that are still not comfortable with who they are and the families are not embracing?
Wow, that's a big responsibility. But I haven't been a parent, but to the parents, I would say from the perspective of a son, I think that if you suspect or you think that you have a daughter or a son that are gay, or their tendency is going that way, your job is going to be to support them. It's not something that we pick to be. It's something that it's in our nature.
What do you mean, you don't learn that?
No, it's not a flu. No,
it was a class, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And there's nothing we can do to change that. So, love your son, love your daughter as they are. Embrace them, protect them. Support them and be their best friend, because the only people that are going to be true best friends at that point is going to be you, and that's going to determine how their path is going to be from that point on. And if you are gay and you are still in the closet, all I can tell you is that you just, when you're ready, you'll know when you're ready to come out. Don't let anybody to force you to come out, because it's not the way to come out. It's when you're ready, when you feel this is the time, whether it takes you 5 or 10 years since the point you discover you were gay. Do not have a secret life. It's not fun. It doesn't lead anyway. Just be true to yourself, respect yourself, accept yourself, and just, kind of tie back to the whole dreamer thing, and dreamers did not pick to be legal, They were brought here by their parents. It was a decision from their parents, and just as gay people are, they didn't pick to be gay, and I think that's where the human rights come in, and you can understand how important it is to protect those people and to respect that and to allow them to be happy. That's the whole goal of everybody in the world, just to be happy.
Whether it's your sexual orientation, the color of the skin, the accent that you have, or your goals, we have to be more embracing, but particularly educating each other who we are. I could not be more honored to have you with us. Congratulations again, Kate, on your re-election. You're doing amazing work in the city of Phoenix. It's been an honor. Silvana, I admire you so much as a woman, as a human being, particular also as an entrepreneur. A lot of us look up to you, so please keep up the good work.
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
Yeah, my accent, just been teasing. And it's been an honor for us to have your story, share it, because I know you're inspiring a lot of people watching us today.
Thank you very much.
Okay? Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us. Do not forget to share the link. This was Con Mary Rabago, now in English. This is Journalism with a Purpose. Hasta la próxima. Thank you so much.
Maddie, you're so adorable. You are so freaking adorable. That doesn't even come through on Facebook Live.
Because I am too serious.
No, I mean, I like your English.
My English?
I like your English.
Thank you so much.